Imagine tonight before you close your eyes, you speak only 7 words. 7. Not a long prayer, not a hidden mantra, not even some ancient code wrapped in mystery. Just one simple, conscious sentence. And yet, if spoken with presence, it holds the power to redirect the current of your unconscious mind, and with it, the quiet trajectory of your life. Carl Jung once said that a mind which falls asleep in peace creates a world more aligned with the soul. But most people don't fall asleep in peace. They fall asleep in conflict, at war with themselves. Their last thoughts are not gentle farewells to the day, but inner accusations, worries, unfinished conversations echoing through the dark. They lie in bed, reliving the same fears and stories, letting guilt and anxiety be the final words their psyche receives before it drifts away. And here lies Jung's great revelation. The unconscious does not rest. While your body sleeps, it continues its quiet labor. It listens, absorbs, reshapes. It dreams with the material you hand it. Feed it chaos, and it builds walls. Feed it peace, and it grows wings. Every night becomes a ceremony of creation, whether you realize it or not. So ask yourself, what have you been offering your unconscious at the edge of sleep? The mind may forget, but the soul remembers. The words you whisper before surrendering to the dark become seeds buried in the soil of your being. And just as soil does not judge the seed, your unconscious doesn't choose between love and fear. It simply grows what it's given. Jung called this the liminal imprint, that delicate threshold between waking and sleep, when consciousness hands the final message to the depths of the psyche. Most people never realize how sacred that moment is. They close their eyes heavy with resentment or exhaustion or the need to control. Then they wonder why they wake up tired, empty, disconnected. But the truth is simple. They never gave their soul a chance to rest. Now imagine doing it differently. You lie in the quiet. The light fades. You take a breath, not just air, but awareness, and you speak your 7 words with intention. They don't belong to any religion. They require no belief. They are pure presence, a symbolic act of surrender. And your unconscious, ancient and alive, listens, not because it is magical, but because it recognizes truth when it hears it. These 7 words are not about controlling reality. They are about aligning with it. They are an invitation to let the deeper self, the one beneath all fear, all stories, rise and take its rightful place. When spoken consciously, they cross the threshold between the outer and inner world and begin to reshape the architecture of your peace. You see, we've been trained to underestimate the invisible. We measure change through results, outcomes, achievements. But transformation often begins where no one sees, in that private conversation between the soul and the night. Jung understood that when the conscious mind finally surrenders, the unconscious takes the lead. And it works not through logic, but through symbols, images that heal, patterns that dissolve pain, dreams that whisper what daylight can't reveal. So many of us go to sleep like soldiers, guarded, armored, ready to fight the same battles tomorrow. But there's another way. You can go to sleep as a pilgrim instead, leaving the battlefield behind and entering the temple of your own silence. Because when you stop fighting yourself, even for one night, you awaken differently. Something subtle but powerful begins to shift. The 7 words are a bridge, not a spell. Their power lies not in their sound, but in their surrender. They are a message to your unconscious saying, I am ready to stop resisting what is. And the moment you speak them, something ancient inside you exhales. The soul does not respond to demands. It responds to devotion. Jung believed the unconscious was not a dark pit of chaos. as many feared, but a living organism, a realm of symbols, memories, and archetypes, constantly seeking wholeness. It is not an enemy to be tamed, but a partner longing to be heard. Each night, it waits for your permission to heal what your waking mind cannot. So when you whisper your 7 words before sleep, you're not reciting. You're returning. You're stepping back into the dialogue that has always existed between your inner and outer worlds. It is not about changing everything overnight. It's about remembering that peace is not something you chase. It's something you allow. Tonight, when you lay your head on the pillow, pause before the world fades. Feel the quiet, the warmth beneath your body, the breath that carries you. And in that silence, give your unconscious a new message, one that tells it you are ready to be whole again. Because what you say in that moment does not just drift into nothingness, it echoes through every layer of your being. It travels through memory, emotion, energy, until it reaches the deepest part of you, the one that has been waiting all along. The unconscious does not need proof. It only needs presence. So speak softly. Let the words fall gently like rain. They will take root, and by the time the sun rises again, something within you will have quietly begun to change. When Jung said the unconscious never sleeps, he meant that even in our deepest rest, the psyche listens. It records what we feel, not what we pretend to feel. It does not respond to the words themselves, but to the state in which they're spoken. If your final thought before sleep is fear, your unconscious prepares for defense. If it's guilt, it prepares for punishment. But if it's peace, pure, wordless peace, it begins to rebuild from the inside. This is why so many people live their days chasing control, and their nights losing themselves to dreams that betray what they truly need. Now, the unconscious works with what it's given. It doesn't argue, it doesn't question, it simply creates. It is both the sculptor and the stone. And every word, every feeling you give it before sleep becomes part of tomorrow's foundation. That is where the 7 words come in. They are not magical syllables, but symbolic keys. When spoken with intention, they become a ritual, a quiet dialogue between your waking mind and your eternal self. Jung saw this as sacred communication, the conscious offering a message to the unconscious, the surface of the soul whispering to its depths. You see, the modern world teaches us to fill every silence, to scroll until exhaustion, to end the day with noise. But the unconscious speaks the language of stillness. It understands symbols, emotion, rhythm, truth, not data or distraction. And so when you finally stop, when you meet yourself in the dark and whisper something true, the unconscious stirs like an ancient listener, recognizing your voice. Most of us underestimate this moment, the few seconds before we drift off. Yet that is when the veil is thinnest. The ego loosens its grip, the masks fall, and for one fleeting breath, the soul has access to everything that you usually hide behind routine and control. What you say then is not small talk, it's creation. You can think of it like this. Every night, you hand over your life's script to your unconscious, saying, "Here, continue the story." And it does, faithfully, word by word. If that script is written in fear, it becomes a tragedy. But if it's written in surrender, in trust, it becomes a healing. Jung once said that symbols are the language of the soul, and that transformation doesn't happen through analysis alone. It happens through experience, through meaningful acts that touch the deeper mind. The 7 words are one such act. They are not meant to fix you. They are meant to reintroduce you to yourself. When you speak them, you tell your unconscious, I am listening again. And in response, it begins to move. Not loudly, not dramatically, but gently, through dreams that reveal truths, through subtle insights, through an unexpected calm that begins to color your mornings. Because the psyche doesn't need force to heal. It needs permission. It needs space to rearrange what the mind has cluttered with resistance. And when you give it that space, the unconscious becomes your greatest ally, not your silent enemy. But most of us have forgotten how to let go. We grip the day tightly, holding on to conversations, mistakes, fears. We fall asleep with the same tension we carried since morning. And then we wake up wondering why we feel drained. Jung once wrote that the soul suffers most, not from pain, but from neglect. It aches when we stop listening to it. That is why the act of speaking 7 simple words before sleep is far more profound than it seems. It's not superstition. It's not self-help. It's remembrance. It's the soul's way of saying, I am still here. You haven't lost me yet. When you finally whisper them, something ancient within you recognizes the gesture. It's like a forgotten melody being played again. The tension begins to loosen. The mind stops chasing solutions and starts hearing silence. And from that silence, clarity arises, not as an idea, but as a feeling. The truth is, you do not need to fight for peace. You only need to stop interrupting it. These words are not commands. They are an invitation to rest in the knowing that peace was always underneath the noise. Many spiritual traditions speak of pre-sleep rituals, a final act that aligns the body, mind, and soul before surrendering to the night. Whether through prayer, gratitude, or breath, each gesture is a reminder. You are not falling into nothingness. You are returning home. So when you whisper your 7 words, do it not as a duty, but as a surrender. You are not trying to convince the universe of your worth. You are simply declaring that you are done carrying what no longer serves you. Maybe for the first time, you'll fall asleep not trying to fix yourself, but simply allowing yourself to be. And in that stillness, something miraculous begins to unfold. Not outside, but within. The dreams soften. The heart rests. The body releases. And the self, long exiled behind thought and effort, quietly comes back. These 7 words do not belong to any religion, any philosophy, or any ideology. They belong to the human heart, the part of you that still believes in beginnings even after countless endings. Because as Jung knew, the unconscious does not respond to perfection. It responds to honesty. So when you speak these words, speak them like a confession and a promise all at once. Speak them as if your soul were listening, because it is. And as you close your eyes, let this truth settle in. Peace is not something you achieve. It's what remains when you stop fighting the night. There's a sacred stillness that arrives just before sleep, the kind of silence that hums beneath all thought, where even time seems to hesitate. It's in that fragile space that the 7 words come alive. You don't recite them as a spell. You offer them as truth. You don't force belief. You surrender to meaning. Because in that moment, it's not about religion, affirmation, or ritual. It's about returning to the conversation you've ignored for too long, the one between your conscious and your soul. Jung believed that sleep was not the end of the day, but the beginning of an inward journey. When the body rests, the psyche wakes, and the self begins its secret work of weaving together all the scattered fragments of your being. What you hand over at that threshold becomes its material. If you fall asleep in bitterness, it builds walls. If you fall asleep in guilt, it builds prisons. But if you fall asleep in peace, the unconscious builds bridges. This is why the 7 words matter. They are a bridge, simple, yet alive with intention. Their meaning doesn't lie in their structure, but in their energy, in the way they signal to your unconscious. I am ready to stop fighting my own reflection. And when that message is heard, something shifts deep within, where thought cannot reach and control, cannot touch. You may not notice it at first. The first night, it may feel like nothing happens, just the same silence, the same dark. But the unconscious is patient. It moves slowly, like roots spreading beneath the earth, invisible, but alive. The second night, your body might relax more easily. The storm of thoughts might soften. And by the third, you might wake up feeling a lightness you can't explain. That is how the psyche responds, not with fireworks, but with gentleness. Jung once wrote that the soul speaks through symbols and synchronicities, through dreams that mirror our deepest truths. When you begin this dialogue before sleep, you invite those symbols to return. The unconscious starts answering in ways that seem subtle at first. A dream that feels more vivid. A memory that surfaces not to hurt you, but to heal you. An emotion that no longer overwhelms, but reveals. These are not coincidences. They are the psyche's language of response. The 7 words act as a code, an unconscious signal that tells your inner world it is safe to unfold. And so it does. Slowly, faithfully, it reorganizes what was once chaos into coherence. You begin to see yourself differently. The same life, the same challenges, but filtered through a calmer presence. Where before you reacted with fear, now you respond with understanding. Where before you resisted, now you allow. And what you once called weakness begins to reveal itself as wisdom. Because surrender is not defeat, it's alignment. To let go does not mean to lose. It means to trust that what is meant for you will not require constant struggle to remain. The truth is, your unconscious has always been listening. Every thought, every image, every emotion, it's been gathering them like a silent recorder. And when you finally speak to it consciously, you reclaim authorship of the story it's been telling in your dreams. That's what the 7 words do. They change the narrator. They shift the inner voice from critic to companion. It's not about chasing happiness or rewriting the past. It's about remembering that beneath the noise, you are already whole. Jung believed that true transformation begins when you stop trying to perfect yourself and instead start integrating the forgotten, neglected parts within. The 7 words are your invitation to integration, to reunite the heart with the mind, the body with the soul. Imagine this. You lie down at night, the lights dim, the air quiet. You take a slow breath and whisper your 7 words into the darkness. No one hears them. No one needs to. It's between you and the unseen part of yourself that has waited patiently for acknowledgement. You're not asking for miracles. You're simply saying, I am ready to return. And as you drift towards sleep, your unconscious takes those words and plants them deep. It doesn't rush. It doesn't argue. It simply receives. For the unconscious understands feeling, not form, sincerity, not logic. And through the night, it begins to arrange itself around that new message. This is how healing often begins. Not in therapy rooms, not in books, but in quiet, private moments when you finally stop performing for the world and speak honestly to your soul. Because it is only in that honesty that true rest is found. So when you speak these 7 words, know that you are doing something ancient, something every soul instinctively knows how to do. You are offering the night a prayer of return. You are giving your pain a place to rest, your thoughts a place to dissolve, your heart a reason to open again. In Jung's language, this act was called individuation, the process of becoming whole. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you already are, beneath the noise, the masks, the roles. And that remembering begins each night with 7 simple words and a breath of truth. The world outside may remain the same when you wake, but the way you see it won't. You'll notice small changes. The morning light will feel softer, the noise of life less intrusive. You'll speak slower, react gentler, forgive easier. It's not because the problems vanished, but because your inner atmosphere changed. And as Jung said, when the unconscious is reconciled with consciousness, life no longer feels like a burden to survive. It becomes a mystery to understand. So tonight, before you close your eyes, let go of everything you think you must control. Speak the words, not with hope, but with faith. Faith not in the outcome, but in the process. Because peace is not earned, it is remembered. The unconscious is not your enemy, it is your mirror. And every night, through these 7 words, you are learning to look into it without fear. And perhaps one night soon, you will realize something extraordinary. You no longer fall asleep to escape the world. You fall asleep to meet yourself again. There comes a night, quiet, almost ordinary, when the 7 words no longer feel like a practice, but a pulse, something your being recognizes as its own heartbeat. You don't say them out of effort anymore. You say them because they feel like home, because somewhere between the first whisper and the 1,000th breath, you've learned that peace isn't something you have to chase. It's something you return to, night after night, until it remembers you. Jung once said that what we repeat with intention becomes seed in the unconscious, and with time, roots grow. Not roots of control, but of grounding, roots strong enough to hold you steady when life shifts around you. The 7 words are those roots. You may not see them grow, but you will feel their strength when storms come. You'll notice how the mind no longer rushes to panic, how emotions no longer drown you, how silence no longer feels empty, because something deep beneath the noise has begun to trust you again. And that trust changes everything. The outer world, which once mirrored your restlessness, starts to soften too. People respond differently. Opportunities appear that once seemed hidden. Even your challenges carry a new tone, not as punishment, but as conversation. It's as if life itself begins to echo your newfound peace, whispering back the same energy you send into it each night before sleep. The unconscious listens. The universe listens. The difference is that now, thus, so do you. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of the return to the self, the journey back to the center where all contradictions meet and dissolve, the place where the thinking mind bows to the knowing soul. You don't arrive there through ambition or achievement. You arrive there by surrendering, by trusting, by whispering 7 honest words to the dark and letting them carry you home. I accept, I trust, I let go, I thank you. Good night. 7 words, 3 breaths, 1 act of surrender. I accept, because resistance exhausts the spirit. Acceptance is not defeat. It is a recognition of what is. It's the way the soul says, I see the truth, and I choose to rest with it. When you accept, the unconscious finally exhales. It no longer needs to build defenses around denial. It can begin to rebuild peace. I trust, because the mind lives in fear, but the soul knows. To trust is to stop demanding guarantees and start remembering that life has never truly abandoned you. Trust dismantles control. It softens anxiety. It allows the deeper current of existence to carry you, rather than letting your fears drag you under. I let go, because holding on is a form of quiet violence. Letting go isn't weakness. It's courage. It's the act of releasing what hurts even when you don't know what will replace it. It's the soul's way of saying, I choose freedom over familiarity. I thank you, because gratitude rewires the psyche. It transforms scarcity into sufficiency, pain into wisdom, endings into openings. Gratitude doesn't erase suffering. It sanctifies it. And when you thank life for what it has given, the unconscious begins to bloom again, unafraid. Good night. Because even those two simple words are sacred when spoken consciously. They are not a goodbye to the day, but a blessing to yourself. A way of saying, for now, I rest. For now, I trust the silence. And when you whisper them with no audience, no pretense, only presence, you feel the atmosphere shift. The day folds gently into darkness. The body softens. The heart opens like a quiet dawn. You may not notice grand miracles, but you'll begin to feel subtle ones. The first morning after, your thoughts might not race as quickly. The second, your chest might feel lighter. By the third, peace begins to feel like a place you can return to at will. And when that happens, you realize these 7 words are not a ritual. They're a way of living. The same world still surrounds you. The same people, the same struggles, the same questions. But you walk through them differently. You breathe slower. You listen deeper. You forgive faster. You carry less. And when chaos rises, instead of being pulled into it, you simply remember your 7 words, and they pull you back to center. Jung said that true transformation does not come with thunder or revelation, but with the quiet realization that something inside you no longer trembles. That's what these words create. Not perfection, not eternal calm, but steadiness. The kind of inner order that allows you to walk through storms without losing your way. And this is the real secret. The 7 words were never meant to change the universe. They were meant to change your relationship with it. Because when you transform your inner dialogue, the outer world simply reflects the new tone. So tonight, when the world fades and your breath slows, remember, you don't need to carry everything into tomorrow. You don't need to solve every question before sleep. You don't even need to know if things will be okay. All you need to do is meet yourself in the dark and whisper, I accept, I trust, I let go, I thank you. Good night. Say them not as repetition, but as revelation. Not to the heavens, but to your own heart. And then, simply rest. The unconscious will take it from there. Because as Jung taught, what you hand over with sincerity is never lost. It becomes light within the darkness. And perhaps one morning soon, you will wake up not because the alarm demands it, but because your soul is ready. The first breath will feel different. The first thought will feel softer. The world, though unchanged, will seem strangely kind. And you'll realize peace did not come from outside. It was here all along, waiting behind 7 small words and 1 honest surrender. So tonight, before you drift away, remember this truth that Heartsync X whispers to every restless heart. You are not falling asleep to escape. You are falling asleep to return, to remember, to begin again. Good night.